For a moment, the toils and efforts that lie ahead. Japan, with all her treachery and greed, remains unsubdued.
In Asia and the Pacific, the war still raged. Easter Sunday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. The battle for the Japanese island of Okinawa. The terror of previous Pacific battles, Guam, Saipan, Iwo Jima, was still in the minds of U.S. Marines as the invasion began. Eugene Sledge was from Alabama.
This time there was no promise of a short operation. A lieutenant said, "This is expected to be the costliest amphibious campaign of the war. We're hitting an island about 300 miles from the Japs' home islands, so you can expect them to fight with more determination than ever. We can expect 80 to 85% casualties on the beach." A buddy next to me leaned over and whispered, "How's that for boosting troops' morale?" I only groaned.
"50,000 men landed on the beach, but it was anticlimactic. To the Marines' astonishment, there was virtually no opposition.
The release of tension was unforgettable. No need to crouch low to avoid the deadly shrapnel and bullets. It suddenly dawned on me, though, that it wasn't at all like the Japanese to let us walk ashore unopposed. It made the April Fool's Day aspect even more sinister, because all those thousands of first-rate Japanese troops had to be somewhere, spoiling for a fight.
During the 5 days following the landings, U.S. troops cleared the northern part of Okinawa. 120,000 Japanese troops were nowhere to be found. Then, against the offshore fleet, Japan unleashed its Special Attack Force. Kamikazes. Almost 2,000 kamikaze suicide pilots flew to their deaths off Okinawa. The night before his suicide flight, 23-year-old Yasuo Ichijima wrote his final diary entry.
"I don't have any realistic sensation that I will die. No excitement, no sentiment. It is just like a dream when I imagine the final moment of my life. It is calm. It is quiet. I'm no longer living for myself. I am the manifestation of millions of Japanese prayers. I hope I'm worthy."
Over 30 American ships were sunk by kamikaze attacks. Almost 5,000 men were killed. The Japanese had lost their air and sea campaign, but the war continued. In May, the land battle for Okinawa intensified. The Japanese army had laid in wait at the southern end of the island, luring the U.S. forces to their strongest line of defense. The Japanese were an unseen enemy. hiding in the thousands of caves across the island. One by one, they were flushed out. In his diary, Japanese private Seiki Nomura wrote,
"The enemy shelling finally stopped. A brief moment of tranquility filled the cave. But the next moment, a big bang of hand grenades, then another one. Suddenly, a huge howl of explosion shook the cave. The explosion blast blew in, like the knocking of a devil from hell. Some soldiers crawled out from the cave. All of us stood still, without words. We knew we were losing this war."
Searches of the caves revealed thousands of Okinawan civilians, many dying of starvation. The Japanese military had taken all their food. Those who attempted to hide anything were executed. Japanese commanders had encouraged mass suicide. Hand grenades were given to civilians. Shigeaki Kinjo was 16 years old.
The relatives had gathered together to die. We didn't know how to use the hand grenades, so we had to kill each other instead. The head of the village beat his wife and children to death. We knew we had to kill our beloved families. Some hit their wives and children over the head with stones or logs. Some cut their arteries with sickles. Some used ropes to bind their necks. I was so scared because I was still alive.
By the end of June, Japanese resistance was over. Battle or suicide had claimed the lives of nearly 66,000 Japanese soldiers. 150,000 people, 1/3 of Okinawa's civilians, died. For the United States, Okinawa was the costliest Pacific battle. 12,500 men died. U.S. B-29 superfortresses were already inflicting heavy casualties on Japan's cities. In one day alone, incendiary bombs killed almost 90,000 civilians in Tokyo. And still the Japanese did not surrender. The United States feared the human cost of invading Japan's home islands. The Soviet Union had promised to enter the war against Japan. Then, President Truman turned to a revolutionary new weapon. On August 6th and August 9th, 1945, atom bombs were dropped on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
It was like a gigantic knife of light slashing the sky in two. A mass of clouds came out, climbing upwards with a huge pillar of red fire in the middle, like a volcano in the sky. For a while, I lost myself and stared at this terrible, beautiful display.
Hiroshima University professor Toyofumi Ogura wrote a letter to his wife.
When I regained my senses, the broken, demolished city of Hiroshima was in front of me. The city where 400,000 people lived, where 7 rivers run, the city of water, Hiroshima, was gone. There was a wave of people on the road who were injured and burnt. A pile of